if you're complaining that you don't have friends, it's hard to make friends, and then but you want friends, but you're not making the effort, you gotta pick a struggle. Pick a struggle. You can't have both. Okay, let's face the elephant in the room. You're in your 20s, mid-20s, nearing 30, early 30s, mid-30s, I don't know. You look up and you have no friends. Or the friends you do have seem to not really be doing it for you, really. Okay? Very, very strange time of life to be having friends, to try to maintain friendships, build new friendships, losing friendships. There's a lot that's happening in like your late 20s, early 30s. And that's what I want to talk about today. That's what I want to get into today. What sparked this thought or this topic for me is, first, I've been seeing a lot of discourse online about friendships in general, just like popping up, like, I have no friends. I'm this age and have no friends. Why I can't have any friends? Why is it so hard to make friends? Yada, 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 so on and so forth. I've been seeing a lot of that pop up, and it's really disheartening, actually. It's really sad for me to see that, but it's also understandable, because as someone who found it really, really difficult to maintain friendships in particular, it was easy to meet people for the most part, but maintaining friendships, I find, is what's really, really difficult as you get older. So that's what I want to get into today. So what actually is the problem? Is it you? Is it them? Or is it really just that hard to make and maintain friendships? Like, is it truly just that hard? So that's what I want to explore and rant about today. So it might be a little disorganized, but stay with me here. I've divvied up. Go ahead, you got it. Outlined what I want to break down today. So first, I want to talk about the challenges and changes in friendships. Then I want to talk about maintaining friendships, then building friendships, and deepening those friendships. I mean, if you've lived long enough on earth, I hope that you have made a friend or known what it's like to be in friendship or maintain a friendship. Friendships can be challenging. They are challenging. They're hard. They're hard to start and even harder to maintain, especially in adulthood, when you have so many responsibilities and other things just take priority. During like high school and like college or sports, friendships are easier to maintain because you have shared activities in an environment where that friendship could be cultivated. If you have not just activities that you have in common with people, those environments just naturally bring people together. But in adulthood, it's a bit different. The effort to build and sustain friendships requires intentionality and vulnerability. I truly believe, one, that as social beings, we are meant to be social. We are meant to live in community. I feel like that's when we as humans just thrive the best. While there are some times, of course, certain parts of your life, it will call for you to be a bit more withdrawn from other people, but I don't think you're supposed to stay there forever. Okay, because it gets a bit dangerous when you start to live life alone. Okay, so let's understand the challenge just in general with friendships. Okay, so you're in high school, you're in college, you're whatever in sports. They form through shared interests and consistent interaction, right? So we don't really have to try when we're younger as hard, because we're going to be seeing the same people every single day. So you're bound to connect with at least one person, right? One person. But the challenge is, once we leave those environments, we start to realize that the common thread that held us together no longer hold you together. And then you start to see, oh, was this truly a friendship? Was this just based off of like proximity? Building deeper and more intimate connections requires active effort and emotional investment. Hear the words: active effort, emotional investment. Okay, you hear those words? Investment, active effort. Stay with me here. I'm gonna go off script a little bit. I feel like we live in a world right now where we are really quick to cut people off. We don't want to face challenges. We don't want to voice our needs and opinions and feelings about things and friendships that bother us so much. And so for a lot of people, the easy way out, and I'm talking about healthy friendships. So the easy way out is to cut people off. And I find that we gotta stop doing this. What are you telling yourself about how you face challenges? What are you telling your brain about how you are able to tolerate feeling uncomfortable, the discomfort? If you find that you are always, your initial response to any sort of tension is to completely just cut the person off, I'm afraid if that's always your response and always your initial response, then that's an issue. That's unhealthy. You cannot convince me that that's healthy. You just can't convince me that that's healthy. You cannot convince me that that's healthy. And this is why I'm saying it takes active effort and emotional investment. And I fear, because we have so much access or perceived access to people on social media through like their feed, we feel that we know someone more than we actually know them. There's this sense of intimacy, this false intimacy that we're creating on social media that doesn't really exist, that makes us feel like the person that we're watching on the screen, the person that's posting their life online, is our friend. Just because we can relate a little bit doesn't make that person your friend. So I feel like because there's so much access to people, or perceived access to people, we come to think that people are just disposable. We can just throw friendships away, we can throw people away, we can discard them, we can go without expressing our feelings and emotions, we can go without listening to feedback from our friends because it's just easy. Because we don't like being uncomfortable. Naturally, I'm an introvert. I do have a lot of extrovert like features. Like, you would be confused if you like met me in person and I told you initially I would come off as an introvert, but then eventually be like, oh wow, actually are you? So I have some flavors of extrovertedness, but I actually am a true introvert. I think with each of those types of personalities, or are they personality types? I don't think so. Or approaches or dispositions. There are unique challenges within both. I think with the introvert, obviously, because they're a bit more comfortable being alone for longer periods of time, that you can fall into like isolation a bit quicker and faster without realizing it. And until you look back, you're like, oh goodness, I've been alone for a really long time. So that's a challenge for introverts. But I think also extroverts, I imagine, have challenges maintaining and building friendships too, because I feel like for a lot of extroverts, a lot of people like extroverts because they're usually a bit more outgoing, easier to connect with people, love being around people. They kind of like thrive off of that. So I think a lot of people can maybe misuse extroverts because of that type of energy. Like, hey, let's invite this person because they're an extrovert and I know, it'll be a good time, or they'll be the life of the party and whatever. I feel like in some ways extroverts could be used because of their natural disposition and actually have a hard time building like deeper, less surfacey relationships. I imagine that would be the challenge with extroverts. If you're an extrovert, you let me know. I mean, I don't know, but I'm just imagining that might be a challenge. For me, friendship is not just about having people around, like having the most amount of people around. And I truly believe, cliche, literally quality over quantity. I think it's truly knowing and supporting people beyond surface level interests. Like, do you know what ticks your friends off? Do they know what tick you off? How do they handle conflict? How do you handle conflict? Do they and are they willing to address conflict when it comes up? With so many things happening in life, especially as getting older, people are getting married, they're having kids, they have jobs, they're trying to, climb up the career ladder. People are busy, they have other interests, they have other friend groups, they have family to tend to, aging parents. There's so many things going on that make it even more difficult to maintain quality friendships. And I would say this, one of the biggest challenges, at least that I've seen, for me, is time. Wish we had more of it. It goes by so quickly. Time, proximity is a challenge. If you have friends, but they're really close friends, but they're far away, this is where the active effort comes in and the emotional investment. So I want to share a quote that I think is really helpful and at least helped me frame what friendship is. And it is by Tim Keller. So I'm gonna read off screen for a little bit. And it reads, "Friends are there when the chips are down, when you have very little to give them. For a friend, you are not a means to some end, but cherished for yourself. And constancy entails availability. Even when it's inconvenient, you can get a friend at all times. However, this means that the best friendships take time, and everyone's time is limited. So while in theory you could have many friends, good friends don't grow on trees, nor can you have a large number of them. Give more time to the ones you have. And he ended off with a question: how can you be more intentional about deepening the friendships you have and giving more time to them? This is from a devotional that I have. It's like walking through like the Proverbs. It's in God's Wisdom for Navigating Life, the June 14th. That's the day. So the word that I want to focus on is constancy, right? This idea of constancy. That's what friendship is. And constancy means the quality of being faithful and dependable, which means that I would assume that you would have to endure some things. Again, I am talking about cultivating healthy friendships. This excludes someone who you know is known to be unhealthy and or toxic or just like a terrible person altogether, who doesn't value people, their opinions, their feelings, or anything. This is referring to cultivating, maintaining, building healthy friendships. Okay, constancy, emotional investment. Hear the words. I'm saying them back to myself too, because I'm thinking about this as I'm talking about it. So talked about like only 2 challenges. I'm sure there are many other challenges: communication styles, cultural background, differences in opinions, but the 2 main ones that I just wanted to touch on was like time and proximity, because those are the ones that I found in my personal life that's challenging. So now that we've gone through the challenges, let's go into like maintaining friendships. So 1, I would say act on thoughtfulness. So for me, I find it really hard. I do not like talking on the phone at all. I hate being on the phone. But once I get on the phone and I start talking to someone, I'm like, oh, this is actually really, really nice. I can do this. And then when I get off, I feel better than I would have felt if I didn't pick up and texted the person. So although I do hate talking on the phone, I find that scheduling like calls in advance helps me feel like a bit more in control. Because if you call me just randomly, I'll pick up sometimes, but it's not my favorite. So if I think of someone, I'll send a text. I'm also not a huge texter. So for me, voice notes, I'll send a quick voice note, because I find that it's easier for me to listen to. It's easier for me to send. I'm more likely to send it if I send a voice note. Because if I'm texting, I'm trying to think about all the right things to say. But if I'm just talking as if like we're talking on the phone through a voice note, it's a bit easier, less pressure. And I don't know why that is actually. I don't know why that is. But act on thoughtfulness. If you think about someone, you think about a friend, just shoot them a text, shoot them a voice note, shoot them something. It's very, very, very simple. Very, very, very. Hey, just thinking about you. Okay. 2, scheduling regular check-ins. This is where the intentionality comes in. As we're getting older, we have less time as our schedule fills up with other things, right? Schedule it in. If you have to do it months in advance, a year in advance, then do that. I have a particular group of friends where we meet in person once a year. It's usually around Christmas time, and we schedule this usually a year in advance or a couple of months in advance. This year we did it in the summer, right? So we usually just come together, we meet in one place, we spend a couple of days together, and it's so refreshing. It's so nice to know that I have that time at the end of the year. This year was the only year that we actually did not come together, because life is happening. A lot of life is happening. People are having babies, people are getting married, people have new jobs, people are moving. It's just a lot. But we did meet in the summer. And so schedule things in advance. Schedule regular check-ins. For some people, it's once a month. For some people, it's quarterly. But just schedule it, okay? And commit to that schedule. 3, use group chats. Obviously, I mean, I think everyone is on a group chat. Just use the group chat. Volunteer information in the group chat. Share funny things. Share random things about your day. Being intentional. Like if the group chat has been dead for a while, just going in there and being like, hey, saw this, thought of y'all. Very, very simple. Very, very quick. 4, I wrote down incorporate prayer and reflection. I think, well, for me, what's really, really, really important is praying for my friends. So I find that when I think about a friend and I pray for them, I'm more likely to reach out to them to check in. Periodically, when you think of them, praying for them, praying and covering your friendships, that God would protect them, that he would reveal any areas that like you're missing about the friendship, or he may lay on your heart just to check in on the person. And I think prayer always helps because it softens your heart towards that person. and you're more likely to talk to them. Now I'm going to go into building friendships. This is the part that I was looking forward to. I probably should have did this one first, but building friendships. If you find that it's hard for you to make friends or maintain your friends, or you're constantly having to cut people off, or you want to make friends, whatever the case may be for building a friendship, okay? You need to be open-minded. You need to be open, because some of y'all want friends, but you actually don't believe that you can have a healthy friendship. So if you're already shooting yourself down from the get-go and saying, well, everybody's been fake to me and everybody lets me down, I'm always disappointed, yada yada yada, whatever it is, you are then not going to want to cultivate or build a new friendship, because you have already said in your mind that it doesn't exist for you, because it's never existed for you. So you're discouraging yourself before you even let it happen. You have to actually believe that you can have a healthy friendship, okay? You have to be open to the idea that this is actually possible, because if you don't even believe that this thing exists, then how are you going to cultivate something that you don't believe that exists? You're not going to. You're going to be pessimistic about it throughout the whole process. And you might shoot yourself in the foot and actually end up jeopardizing an actual connection that could turn into a friendship, because you have this pessimistic view about friendships in general. So you have to be open. If you're not open about this actually happening, don't even waste people's time. Please just leave people alone. If you're not even open to the idea that you can have a healthy friendship, just don't waste people's time, okay? But you have to be open. You have to be open. With being open, you also need to be vulnerable. Like, friendship takes an emotional investment. You can't expect to build something that's deep when you're sharing very shallow things about yourself and your life. You can't constantly just be talking about, I don't know, just things that really you don't value or actually matter, and then expect there to be an intimate connection there. It's not going to happen. I've had this happen before, where I struggled in my early 20s, mid 20s with wondering like why I couldn't build deep friendships. And I was talking to friend at the time, and she said, well, you have to give a little. You have to offer up information without even being asked if you want that same thing back. Because I used to be in friendships where, I'm a listener. I can listen to you for almost, all day. Like, I don't mind hearing people talk about themselves if I'm actually interested. So because my default is a listener, I used to just like not share, because it's like, one, the space is being taken up by me listening, and two, I actually kind of don't want to share, because then that would mean that you would actually try to like get to know me. But like, what if you could hurt me? Like, what if you use it against me? What if this doesn't work out? What if you are a witch and you cast spells on me with the information that I give you? These are actual things. I'm laughing, but these are things that I've actually talked about. Like, I mean, vulnerability is truly very, very scary. It's frightening, because you're sort of giving the other person a power to hurt you. And that's with any relationship, like, period, that we have. Like, anyone who knows enough about you has the ability to hurt you. And people hurt with information that they have. So it's a genuine fear to have and concern, which would bring me to my next point, is be prayerful about your friendships. Be prayerful about who is in your life. Ask God for discernment and wisdom about, okay, is this a friendship that I should be pursuing? Like, or is this just an acquaintance? Because we need to be able to tell the difference, okay? Because this was something also, sometimes I can't tell the difference even now. I'm a little bit better now, but in the past I could not tell the difference between who was actually going to be my friend or who was just there for the moment. And I made the mistake so many times of befriending people or being a friend to people who did not consider me their friend, right? Or the other way. And I mean, it's a sucky place to be in, but I believe that being prayerful and discerning about, okay, does this person have qualities that I need in my life? Could they build me up, or are they a negative person? How do I see them function in other friendships with other people? I mean, because that could be evidence too, whether or not this person should be a friend. If you see this person operating in a way with other friends that you do not want around you, then that's a sign that's probably should not be a friend. That should be someone you keep at arm's length. right? So I talked about vulnerability. So you have to have a willingness to share parts of yourself, even if it feels uncomfortable, because you have to build trust, right? Because you're literally going to get nowhere if you share nothing, and if the person doesn't share anything with you either. So it requires mutual openness. So it can't be one-sided, obviously. Like, it can't be just you sharing everything about yourself, but you know nothing about this person. And also the other way around. Another thing I think that was hard for me to recognize is recognizing that, or identifying that, not all connections require like a deep connection. So not every person that you meet, just because you meet someone doesn't mean that that's going to be your friend. Doesn't mean it's going to be long term. Some friendships serve specific purposes for a specific season, for a specific time frame. And being able to identify that over time really helps setting realistic expectations. Because I have struggled in the past with being able to discern or tell whether or not this person is going to be in my life long term or short term. And that's not something that you'll be able to identify until time passes, quite literally. I have been devastated over friendships that I thought would last a long time, but only lasted a season. But whose fault is that? That's my fault, because I set these unrealistic expectations based off of what? Based on my fantasy about what this friendship would look like. Yeah, no, things don't work that way. And there have been friendships that I thought would only last a couple of months, or would just be in a setting of, I don't know, church or work or whatever it was, and actually lasted a long time. Like, I have friendships now, like with people that I met years ago that I never thought that I would actually build a friendship with. But God has surprised me. God has surprised me, for real, for real, for real. That leads me to my next point. Expand your perspective of what friendships in your life will look like. So be open to friends with different backgrounds, different beliefs, different interests. They can probably offer you like a fresh perspective on an area in life that you did not know that you needed. So don't limit yourself to an idealized image of what your friend group or what your friends should look like. About me, because I'm gonna always bring it back to personal, because I'm thinking about these things in the context of my own life. So I imagine you who is watching has probably experienced this too. I've always had this view of what my friend group should look like, or who I should be surrounded with, right? And while it is good to have standards, have expectations about the people you want to be around, I was fixated on what they would look like. So I always assumed that all my friends would always be all Black. Like, I wouldn't have any friends of any other ethnic or racial group ever in my friend group. Now, if you look at my friend group, child, God has surprised me. I have a really mixed group of friends. I have lots of white people, do I have lots of Hispanic? I have some Asian in there, and of course Black, mixed race, from so many different backgrounds. I have Christian friends who I'm closest with because I am a Christian, and you tend to gravitate towards the people who have the same, beliefs and values. But I don't just have Christian friends. I have also different type of Christian friends who believe differently than me too, like diverse even in that area, like who have different theologies. I have non-Christian friends. I'm not saying lower your expectations, but get rid of the idea of what your friends should look like, because God can and he will surprise you. Because your next best friend might be that girl or that boy who is the exact opposite of you. You might be a Black woman watching this thinking that your best friend is actually a Black woman. Your best friend might be Taiwanese, Vietnamese, Filipino. You never know. Mexican. You just do not know. Yes, we can have an ideal. We can have an idea of like who we want to, but you just never know. You never know. It could be anyone, everyone. It could be literally anyone. Just drop this idealized, this fantasized version of friendship, because it exists, but not in the way that it might look in your brain. So this goes back to being open. First, being open to the idea that you can actually have a healthy friendship, because it does exist. You just have to cultivate it. And being open that it might not look the way that you want it to look. It might not come packaged the way that other people's friendships look, because that might not be what you need. You might need somebody that's different from you while also having some people who are a bit similar to you also. But do not box yourself in with this idea of like what your friends should look like. You learn so much more when just everyone around you is just like diverse. Like that's obvious, like, but it's not so obvious. Like we know that's the case in the world, but for some people in their friendships, it's like, nah, everyone has to be the same. We have to think the same or do the same, or I can't get along with them or whatever. But no. So the next point in this particular area where I'm talking about, what am I talking about? Building new friendships. Reflect on your role. This is important. If your friendships consistently fail meaning the friendship doesn't exist anymore. I mean, that's the only thing I can think of. Like they don't exist anymore. There's constant conflict. I'm not talking about regular conflict, because there is going to be conflict in friendships. Like you're in a relationship with people, with diverse people, with broken people. So you bring brokenness together. There's going to be conflict always. But if you're constantly finding that your friendships are failing, it's time to self-reflect, because you might be the problem. It's you. I'm not your friend. I'm just someone on the internet talking, but I want you to have healthy friendships. And so I care about you a little bit, even though I don't know you. But sister, bro, it might be you. You might be the problem. You might be the toxic one. You might be. And if you're okay with admitting that you might be the problem, consider asking the friends that you do have or family that are close to you, ask them how they perceive you. Ask them how you function in friendship with them, in relationship with them. Ask them, be curious. Like, I'm wondering, you know, I've been struggling with like keeping friends. I feel like everything always fails. Like, is it me? Like, can you give me some insight? Like, how do you experience me in relationship, in friendship? Get feedback. Because I'm sensing all in here that a lot of your friendship probably could have been saved if you just said sorry. Or if you just sat down and said, hey, you did X, Y, and Z. I interpret it as this. Is this what you meant? A lot of problems could be solved. But we do not want to be uncomfortable. We do not want to admit when we're wrong. We do not want to self-reflect. But I'm sure there have been some friendships that could have been saved if we just sat down and humbled ourselves enough to be like, hey, I might have been wrong. Tell me where I have wronged you. I'll tell you how I interpreted your actions. Let's fix this. A lot of y'all really don't, there's no conflict resolution. Where is it? Okay, where is it? You might want to self-reflect. You might want to ask people around you who are still in your life how they experience you. Because it's data. We don't want to keep making the same mistakes. No, we don't. Okay, it's okay. We don't want to keep making the same mistakes. And if you want friends and you want to build and maintain healthy friendships, you have to be okay with the discomfort of someone telling you about you. Okay? It can't always be yes, girl, you killed that. Yes. Like, I have been the friend in the past where it's like, my friend could do no wrong. I'm always going to take your side. And then I started to realize, no, that's not really healthy, because actually that means I don't love you, because I'm constantly saying that you're right to avoid conflict. And I'm watching you make the same mistakes, and you're watching me make the same mistakes, and you're not telling me, girl, you're dumb. Stop doing that. That is not friendship. We're not going to continue to enable people because we are uncomfortable with being uncomfortable. Okay? No, that is not love. That is not friendship at all. We have to be real about what we need in friendships and making sure they're realistic and reasonable and not crazy. Okay? You also have to know how you communicate, and you have to know how your friend communicates. Because you might be communicating in a way that your friend is not receiving or is not recognizing, and they might be doing the same too, right? And we see this in romantic relationships too. One of the biggest challenges in romantic relationships people used to tell me this before I got married, is communication. I'm like, there's no way that communication is that big of a deal. Like, of course it's important. But when I tell you, when you're that close in proximity with someone, communication truly is key. I know it sounds cliche. Woo, there's so much misunderstandings, conflict caused due to just not knowing someone's communication style. So being honest, recognizing your own communication style, identifying your friend's communication style can really prevent a lot of a lot of conflict, or can make handling the conflict a bit easier once we understand, okay, that's how you communicate. I didn't receive it that way. Okay, now I understand. I would prefer you to do it this way. Very easy peasy lemon squeezy. Okay, so I wanted to, because I wrote a note that I have to read this page in the same devotional book that I read from earlier by Tim Keller. Can you talk? Okay. A second requirement for friendship is transparency. The King James Version renders the first part of Proverbs 27:6 as faithful are the wounds of a friend. What are faithful wounds? The phrase means that real friends do open rebuke. They teach each other things they need to hear, even if they are painful. If you are too afraid to say what needs to be said, you are really an enemy of your friend's soul. Have you ever listened to a recording of yourself and thought, I don't sound like that? But yes, you do. You can't hear from within your body what your voice really sounds like outside. And without the perspective of others, we will never know our strengths and weaknesses. If you have a measure of status in the world, or if you have chosen friends poorly, you may be just surrounded by flatterers. Transparency is scary, but we need it. And to get courage, look to the one who became so vulnerable for you that he died on the cross. How faithful were the wounds of this friend for you? How many real friends do you have? Friends who will speak the truth in love to you. And I'll just end that section with that, okay? All right, the last part of this video, because it's getting kind of long. This is the last part. Okay, deepening friendships. I kind of touched on this in the very, very, very beginning. But I'm going to go through these a bit quickly because I've been sitting here for a while and I'm getting stuffier and stuffier. 4 things I've written down. Obviously, there's going to be more things you can do to deepen friendships, but this is just based on like my personal insight on my own friendships in my life. I've written down 4 things. So, to deepen friendships. 1, set expectations. Communicate openly about what you need from your friends and ask them what they expect from you. This clarity can help with a lot of misunderstandings. This is very straightforward. Let's just talk to each other. Just talk. What do you expect from me? Or this is how I usually function in friendships. Is this something that you receive in that way? Is this something that you want? And let them tell you, no, I don't want that. I would prefer this. Okay? Set expectations. May they be realistic. Please, please, please. Because we're having these expectations in our heads, we're not sharing them with others. And then it gives more room for disappointment. But also, you're disappointing yourself. Because who told you to set that expectation? Nobody but yourself. Nobody but you. So, set expectations. Communicate those expectations. And then go from there. Go from there. Let's keep it real. Let's keep it simple. Number 2, adapt to changing dynamics. Yes. As life changes, people get married, change careers, children, all of this stuff. So do friendships. So be flexible. Be flexible and understanding of wherever your friends are at, whatever friend group, of their time and priorities. You're not always going to be a priority. The way you were when y'all were in college is not going to be the same when your friends are married and have multiple kids. Or it's not going to be the same when they move away or you move away. Be flexible. Be okay with the change in dynamic. Just because the dynamic changes doesn't mean the love necessarily changes, right? This is something that I personally had a hard time with. It was hard for me to recognize, wow, the way we were when I was in my early 20s, my mid 20s, now we're not there anymore, and that means that there's something wrong. I had such a hard time with this. I used to ruminate about it, like, wow, they must not like me anymore. Like, what changed? What did I do? Well, they're acting different. Why are they acting different? It's not about you sometimes, sweetheart. It's not about you. It's not about you. Okay? Very, very arrogant of you to think that it's just about you. And I'm talking to myself too. People change, dynamics change. Also think about, as we're getting older, so are our parents. So we're watching our parents age. And so our roles within our own families might be changing as well. So of course, expect that your friendships are going to change. Be flexible, be kind, be compassionate, be understanding. Like, it's okay if you notice something is changing, just reach out and say like, hey, I really, really miss you. I know things have been different, but the love is the same. I'm always like, it could be so simple. Sometimes people take it really personally, and I've been there. Trust me, I've been there. I've taken it personal when I shouldn't have, because I was so much in my thoughts and thinking about myself. But step outside of yourself for a second. Life is not about you. Things change, people change, dynamics change, and it's normal. It's normal. Embrace it. Embrace it. Number 3, invest time and effort. Deep friendships require consistent effort. Consistent, that means overtime. Consistent, overtime. Small things throughout the months, the weeks, the years. It takes consistent effort. So yes, while there may be natural things and flows of life that's happening, it is still on you, if you want a true friendship, to put that consistent effort in, that emotional investment. It is an investment. Some of y'all want friendships immediately. Y'all want the result of a 15-year friendship in a year. It's not gonna happen. Let's be for real. Are you serious? Are you serious? Some of y'all brains not developed and you want a friendship, the result of a 15-year friendship in a year. And for some people, sometimes it does happen. Sometimes I do hear, and I've met people where we clicked immediately. And I was like, wow, this was so easy. Wow, it just felt so organic, so natural. Like, we have so many interests. We got deep really, really quick. But that's not the norm. Most of my friendships have been over time, consistent effort. I could tell you like maybe a handful of times, maybe less than a handful of times, where I met someone and I immediately clicked with them and it was like, this person is going to be my friend. I know for sure. So my final encouragement, building and maintaining friendships takes time. So give yourself time to get to know the person. Give them time to get to know you. Vulnerability takes time. There's no rush. There's no rush. It requires patience, effort, compassion, understanding, and lots of grace. Lots of grace. Trusting the right people that come into your life. Be discerning about the people that are coming into your life. Not everyone you meet is going to be a close friend, okay? And that's okay. It's okay. Know when it's time to let go of a person. That might be a whole nother video. But know when it's time to let go of a friendship, or if it's something that you should hold tightly, and then fight for those friendships. Friendships are worth fighting for, okay? We can't keep cutting everybody off. We can't keep cutting everybody off. With commitment, with care, you can foster meaningful relationships in your life, no matter the age. And just know, as you get older, it is normal for your circle to get smaller. So if you found that you had a big circle of friends in the beginning and now you don't be surprised. Don't be surprised. You can't maintain so many connections with so many people. Just know that it is normal, that it is not abnormal to not have a lot of friends. It is concerning if you have no friends, though. That is what I'm saying to you right now, friend, okay? That it is concerning if you have no friends at all. If you're living in isolation and withdrawn from the world, that is concerning, okay? And I just hope that if you're hearing this, that you felt encouraged, that you felt seen and heard, and that this would catapult you into building, maintaining, and deepening all of your friendships, okay? Go in peace, go in love. I'll see you in the next video.